I want you to imagine something. You run a little guest house, maybe a cabin by a lake. It's checkout time, and you head over to clean up after the last guests. You put the key in the lock, push open the door, and you just freeze. What you're looking at isn't just a messy room, it's a scene, and it's about to make you think about something way, way bigger. All right, so let's zoom in on this scene, because this is what kicks off this whole train of thought. It all starts with one unbelievably messy guest room. And look, this wasn't just your run-of-the-mill untidy. The author had been running these guest houses for 7 years straight. 7 years! And this was the absolute worst he'd ever seen. It wasn't just messy, it was memorable. It was something that really, really stuck with him. So what exactly did he find? Let's walk through the evidence piece by piece. Over by the stove, there's a bunch of firewood that was never even used, just sitting there with wood chips scattered all over the floor. In the kitchen, a mountain of dirty pots and pans just abandoned by the sink. The bedrooms, both of them had beds that were just a total wreck. And get this, one of the pillows was stained so badly that it went right through the pillowcase. And the final clue? A white tablecloth, now completely filthy, had been balled up and stuffed behind a cot, kind of like they were trying to hide it. It's just this perfect picture of not caring at all. But here's where things get really interesting. This isn't just a story about a slob. This is where the author kind of puts on a detective hat. He stops being a guest housekeeper and starts thinking like Sherlock Holmes. And here it is, the core idea of this whole explainer. You know how Sherlock Holmes could look at a speck of mud on a shoe and tell you where a person's been? Well, the author's arguing that it's the same with our lives. The little traces we leave behind, the mess, the kindness, whatever it is, they all add up to reveal our true character. It's a pretty powerful idea, right? That every single thing we do is a clue. So the big takeaway here is that nothing is really insignificant. That dirty dish you leave in the sink, that quick kind word you say to a stranger, that mess you leave for someone else to deal with, it all matters. Every single action is like a brushstroke, and together they paint a portrait of who you really are. And that, of course, brings the focus away from some anonymous, messy guest and shines the spotlight right back on us. It's time for us to turn that detective's magnifying glass on our own lives. So, let's get real for a second. If you were to look back on your own path, think about your job, your friendships, your family, even your interactions online, what would you see? What kind of clues have you been leaving behind for everyone else to find? Now, this is where the stakes get raised. Big time. Because in this view, this isn't just about being good or bad. The author frames these traces we leave as literal signposts, pointing us down one of two very, very different roads. It's presented as a series of really simple black and white choices. For instance, on the path you walk, are you leaving flowers for people to enjoy? Or are you leaving thorns that trip them up and cause them pain? And what about the words that follow you around? When people talk about you, do they offer praise and thanks? Or are they quietly whispering curses and complaining about you? Think about the energy you bring into a room. Is it light? Do you make things feel brighter, more hopeful? Or do you carry a kind of darkness with you, a heaviness that brings everyone down? And finally, what about the memories you leave in other people's minds? When someone looks back on their time with you, is it a good memory they hold on to? Or is it more like a nightmare they're trying to forget? And this is the author's ultimate point. And man, is it direct. There's no gray area here. If the trail you leave behind is filled with beauty, flowers, praise, light, then you are walking the path to heaven. But if it's a trail of ugliness, thorns, curses, darkness, then you're on the highway to hell. So all of this leads to a final concept, one you've probably heard of before, but maybe not like this. We're talking about the final judgment. From this perspective, the final judgment isn't some big event that happens at the end of time with a judge on a throne. No, it's way more personal than that. The judgment is simply the sum total, the entire collection of all the traces you've left behind on your journey through life. So the bottom line is this. In the end, we judge ourselves. The evidence isn't presented by some prosecutor or lawyer. It's presented by you, every single day. The final verdict is just the story that your own trail tells. And that really leaves us with one final, pretty heavy question to chew on. Thinking about the traces you're leaving right now, today, this week, what story are they telling? And where, ultimately, is that path taking you?